I thought I'd talk a little bit about us, Alberta Pork, in the context of service, us as an organization serving producers, and then trust and where that all goes and what we're up to. And so service, here's some of our people, what they look like. Times have changed, no more red barn. Things are looking a little different, although we do have some, and I'll show you a little later on, we do have some smaller producers as well. And then we have this trust angle that we have to kind of figure out what we're going to do with. And it really comes down to the politics and the public, and there's some things we need to do, and hopefully I'll capture that for you. So some things we do know as we move along and how we change it, we're changing our strategy and the things that we're doing. Some things we do know is that pigs don't fly. If you didn't know that, write that down. That's one takeaway message. And about the people up here, about 3% of the population wishes that livestock agriculture probably didn't exist. And then they'll move on to pets and everything else. So just so you know, we can't help them. And then there's a couple of people that are in power and politics, and really it's just that we have a level of government now in two levels where they really don't know agriculture that much, especially in this province. And so it's a challenge for us to move forward on that, and we'll talk about that. Anyhow, so this is us, and we produce about 2.7 million pigs. It's about 515, last year was about $515 million that went into exports. We're a little bit more than 50% export out of the country. But you can see this is just live pigs. So the arrow is showing how we move things. At one time it was all kind of concentrated in the province. Now it's moving out. So we have 3 of the federal plants. There's 7 in Western Canada. And we move a lot of pigs around. And the bigger movements are starting to happen in both, like in the western provinces. This part here of heading south, so to the Midwest, where we're raising pigs because we make more money doing that. So imagine that, even with a carbon levy, which we'll talk about. And so here's our kind of layout of our producers. Really, we've got this backyard. This is under 100 pigs, and then we've got a combination of colonies, 108 colonies that produce pigs, and we also have independent producers, and now more and more contracted. So they're guys that are grouped together. They're becoming bigger and bigger operations, and sometimes it's just bigger numbers, not bigger size of the barn and that kind of thing. So that's kind of us in a nutshell, and just to give you a perspective, we're number 4 in the country, and the country exports 70%. So when I go through some of these slides, we have some real worries in our future every day about what could happen, because we're 70% export. That's $3.8 billion in exported product that we send out of Canada. So this is us. Our strategy, we have 4 Ps. We have a producer in the middle that we have to look after, provide services. We have 2 levels of government. That's our politics. We got some partners and the public, and we call it the 4 Ps that we have to kind of juggle and look after these issues. And they really do start off with the story of our guys. They pay the bills, and we need to move towards, and we are more to the boots on the ground. So we're actually looking at, as an organization, putting more guys out there to actually help producers get what they need done. So this is this is a little org chart you can see. I'm just trying to highlight to you that this red part, this represents boots on the ground. This part here, it represents communications, that we get messaging and things out. And this part where I sit, this just represents guys who use up the money. And so, the red part is really, everything from CQA and programs and just knowledge and trying to solve problems. And the awareness part, the communication part on the far side here is a journal and making sure that we get website stuff and everything else that gets out and communications to all our partners. What we do for delivery is quality assurance programs, welfare, food safety, traceability. We're one of the only provinces that actually have the authority to be the delegate or the delegated authority to look after that traceability. So we see all the movements, everything that goes on, every pig that goes to a processor, every pig that comes and goes from our province. We get to see that, and then also pigs that go from one farm to the other. We get all the documentation and we keep track of it. And in 48 hours, it's all loaded onto a database. And it's available for CFIA and our provincial vet to look at in case there's any disease issues or food safety concerns. So this is our little traceability, or our stickers. They start to show up now on products, mostly out of the country, because that's where they really love it. We in Canada don't seem to really mind being cheap and cheerful, and we'll pretty much eat anything. So, but in other countries, they do care about quality, and they do care about paying for it and traceability. But and so this is kind of our program. Some of the things that we do with the Canadian Pork Excellence. Other issues for us are disease surveillance, preparedness. Like again, I go back to this biosecurity. We are monitoring and looking at, with our partners within Alberta government and others across the Prairie provinces, looking at facilities such as the loading docks at processing facilities, at wash bays, at assembly yards. And we've been working on this for quite some time. We've had help federally. Bill's in here, Valentine, who helped us out quite a few years ago with the biosecurity program that we had that went across the country that got producers really onto it. And it's really what's helped us, that education part and the surveillance part has really kept us ahead of the game in a lot of cases, and we just need to keep that vigilant because, again, 70% of what we do goes out of the country. This country, for the most part, if anything goes wrong in the U.S., we're in trouble. If anything happens and goes wrong in Canada, we're in trouble. So the key story here is we're in trouble. So we have to keep our own house clean, and that's what we need to do, and we try very hard to do that. Euthanasia, as much as we like to keep everything alive, sometimes we just have to put some things to rest, and you have to be able to do that in a humane way, and so we put a lot of attention to the best way to do that so animals don't suffer, and we do have a very extensive program where our guys go out and actually train, teach, provide equipment, and do things for our producers. Traceability, again, like I said, we're moving towards electronics, so everything will happen even quicker, that we can follow through. And we look at license plate. Is that a legit license plate number? Is that, is your handwriting good enough? No. So we want an electronic, so we can see everything that's in there. And if there's a problem, we have staff that phone and make sure that's all cleaned up that day. The minute we get it, we check it, and then we check on the verification of it. Other things, transportation certification. We want all our guys to be certified on that. So we have our little team of 3 guys, certified trainers. They're working on some other qualifications as well. We go to a farm, we train anybody. Anybody that'll touch a pig on a truck, moving it someplace, needs to be trained, and we train them all. It's all free to them. They just get it. We force them into it. So, it's good. They learn that, and we can say, hey, these guys understand what's going on, and they're protecting pigs. We got a lot of issues coming down on that, and I'll talk about one in a minute. Energy, ventilation, building changes, all that kind of stuff. It's amazing how much money we can save when we look at energy efficiency and things that we do in our buildings, from lighting to fans to motors to, you name it, the stuff that we can do and we've got an issue to try to grapple with when it comes to carbon levy, which you probably heard about and talked about before I got here, or maybe you will later on. Labor issues, we rely on temporary foreign workers. Sorry, people don't want to get into agriculture. They don't want to go into barn. I never said to any of my kids, please be a barn worker. Please go to work at a packing plant. And I'm sure most of you have never said that to your children either. Unfortunately, that means we don't have anybody in agriculture working in barns and doing stuff. And I mean, there's great opportunities. So a lot of the workers that we do come from either you own the barn and work at it, or you're coming from another country, and we need those people. That's how this country was built. So. And so we have to deal a lot, and the government's been, on occasion, the federal government in the past has been quite tricky in keeping that from happening, but we've worked through it. Farm safety, Bill 6 and things like that we've encountered. We just looked at that, and we've gone out to our farms and we've looked at them, and we hired experts to go out and have a look. And number one thing that we have to worry about is personal protection equipment, and that's just a step up. All it means is you have to carry some stuff around. Keep your eyes protected, hands, masks, that kind of thing, and those are simple things for us to protect workers and make sure they're okay. The other one is housekeeping. Number one thing, we're going through this big, massive change and doing stuff to protect people, and really, one of the other ones is housekeeping. We all can say that in our jobs. Pick up your junk so you don't trip on it. Your mom didn't just say that to keep the house clean. She didn't want you to get hurt either. So, and that's the thing we have to tell to our producers as well. Like, you finish working on something, put it away, because you're going to trip and fall and get hurt. So, minor things, but we're putting big binders together, believe me. Anyhow, that's not us, but somebody else. Risk management, if you work with the bank, number one thing we need is capital. So I'm just saying, why don't we have like AFSC, farm credit. I'm just spitballing here, prime -1, thanks. Just remember that. That's the second message. If you got that when you go home, just make that change for us, would you? It'd be great. Insurance, access to capital, operating capital as well. We need that kind of stuff, and it doesn't always come to us very easily. Growing forward programs, we help our producers with those. If you don't know what they are, I won't go too much into it. Activists, people come to our farms now. They break into barns. They try to free the pigs, run away, go. I know it's -40, but you'll be okay. And the minute they walk in, they cause a biosecurity problem. They cause animal welfare issues. And you know, we need to stay on top of that. We need to train our producers and do stuff. We don't want our producers, you know, doing things they shouldn't do, and we want to make sure that those people don't get hurt by going into barns and stuff. So, and it's a growing problem. Research, we spend a lot of money on research. We have our own magazine where we're trying to push that across Canada to highlight all the research that we do. And then just general understanding when we go out to farms so they understand what's going on with the public and awareness. So that's kind of what we push with them. Government issues we have, and I know Rich might talk on a few of these too, so I'll just skip by them. Bill 6, if you heard about it, it's all about us being safe, but really 91% of the people who get injured and unfortunately pass away, they aren't covered by Bill 6. So we need to spend a little extra time on that. So it's just for workers, but we are working on those issues, and we'll see how that all pans out with the government. Transportation regulations, we have those. So we have this thing called I call it the 28-hour guy. And this is something that goes on all the time with regulations. My issue is we shouldn't have animals on a truck for any longer than 36 hours. This is not me, but this is the guy doing the work or the regulations. 36 hours, too much, 28. He's fixated on 28. Nothing that you say can ever change from that. And you take every one of those issues, there's a 28-hour guy. Like, that's all he can see. He doesn't see the big picture. He doesn't see the outcome. He just sees 28 hours. And we have to stop doing that to agriculture. We're piling things on agriculture like you can't believe. And they're not outcome-based. They're just, I have this thing, and I got to make a change, and that's what the change is, because I know the science says this is what it should be, and it's not. Anyhow, I mean, we have to be careful, and I just highlight that a bit. Carbon levy, we've got a carbon levy in there. We're going to charge our producers money. We don't even know what the impact of that is. I mean, it's crazy. The direct impact is just a drop or two at a retailer, and it works its all the way down, and by the time it gets to the farm, it's a raging river of costs. Nobody eats up the costs of a producer. They pass them all the way down again. So every time we do something like this, we cause more cost to the producer. He has his direct. He can see it just like you can with your bills, but he also has indirect. And we don't know what those will be, so we're trying to figure that out. Municipal taxation, who knows, man. Every time we turn around, you know, somebody needs more money. You know, taxation's a big issue. So we're trying to work on that together, and with organizations like Rich's as well, and Ward as well. You know, looking at what we can do to fight that off. And we want to pay our fair share, but we just don't want to be gouged. Business risk management, again, with the government to make sure they understand what we need. Trade issues, always. 70% of what we produce needs to be traded. So we got to keep those marketplaces open, and it's a big deal. And then again, keeping MLAs, MPs engaged all the time, because some of them really don't know anything about agriculture. It's not their fault, but we just need to visit them. Industry partners, we used to always put a lot of money into retail. Can't do that anymore. Man, nobody learns anything at the retail. I mean, you go there and there's a package and it's got a bunch of stuff. You're not going to read that. All you read is the price. You know, and someone stands in the stores and says, this is the best thing ever, it's got all this stuff. And half the people walk by, I'm sorry, but half the people walk by, pick up the package and go, oh yeah, I really like this. And if you watch, they'll come back later on and drop it off and grab the cheap one. I mean, really, we are cheap and cheerful here. And we got to get over that. We ask for a lot of things, but we really pay attention with our pocketbook. So we have to figure out different ways to get our message across to people about the quality product we have. Working with our partners is a big one, so there's a lot of people in the value chain, a lot of commodities that we work with as well too. Anyhow, so public relations and trust, you know, really that's a big issue for us. There are a lot of people with no information. They get their information from social media, and it's really unsubstantiated. I don't know. There's number 3. I'm giving a lot of takeaways, you guys. This is awesome. I hope Rich and you and Ward, you guys can like top up on this. But the third takeaway is Facebook. Half of that's just bunk. Don't believe it all. Okay. Anyhow, so you know we have this sort of stuff. People stepping up, saying things, and it means nothing. And we're sharing that. We're sharing nothing with other people, so they believe nothing too. So it's crazy. When we ask Canadians, and we just did this survey recently, we're a member of the Center for the Canadian Centre for Food Integrity, and so they did a survey and they went out and asked Canadians what they thought about agriculture in general. And one of the things that really came back that was interesting is that they really care about pricing and the affordability of healthy foods and healthcare and rising energy costs and the economy. And this was their big stuff. We thought, wow, that's pretty interesting, you know, that they didn't list the things that we thought. And then we looked at it, and it's quite similar. I know that's really small for you to see, but it's quite similar across Canada, the U.S., and Alberta. The top 5 things are kind of really the same. But what really stuck out as well, too, is over here on the sidebar are all the things that we constantly think: food safety, animal care, the environment, those things. They're only 1% or 2% below. So it's like melting ice. You know, we're worried about the ice, the top 5, and it starts to melt, and then that water comes up again. You know, so anytime there's an issue, the water comes back up again. So we always have to be mindful for all those things. It's not like we can get away with doing bad things. We have to keep our game up and do good things. Concerns. You know, here it is. Hey, I'm personally concerned about hormones, antibiotics, residues, and pesticides. 45 to 48% strongly agreed to that. Wow, where did they get that from? Okay, I'm not the healthiest looking guy, but that chubby little dude giving out hamburgers, like, and saying like everything's got to be antibiotic free and hormone free and everything else. Like, I think that's where they're getting their information from. If you got a free hamburger, you might agree with that. But I'm just saying, I mean, this is stuff that people have in their head, and you know, we have one of the best food systems in the world. But okay, it's consumer's choice, as long as they pay. And then, you know, you look at this thing, you know, again, animal welfare, animal concerns. 25% of the people strongly agree that animals have the same rights as humans. That's a tough one. That's okay. And 27% strongly agree that doesn't represent, you know, when we see a bad video, that it does. I know it's a flip on the words, but 27% of the people they don't agree that that's what average agriculture looks like or livestock does. But that means how many more? Like 73%. Are kind of out there thinking, gee, every time I see a video, that's what really happens in agriculture, you know, and that's not good. So we have to fix that. So here we are, agriculture in general, 21%, you know, strong, we're on the wrong track, 50% have no idea, 30% like us, think we're on the right track. Well, that's not really a great record, but we have to work on that one too. But the most amazing thing is 93% really have no knowledge. But they had some really strong opinions. Okay. You know, so how do you combat that kind of stuff? So we look at it and say, well, you know what a lot of it is? It comes down to this story. You know, it's shared values make trust better than just the facts, right? So the facts is just the science. We need the science. We need to have all that stuff there, but we have to start sharing values. And when we look at the shared values side of things, we look at that. The people who are the most, you know, trusted really are actually our guys, the farmers. They're way up here. Here's me over here, association. I think I'm a little more trustworthy than that, but here they are. And you look at a lot of other things. It's too bad they're getting a bad rap down here, but here's the food stores, food industry guys that we work with. And I mean, they're not getting a good rap, and they do some good things too. But, you know, it's unfortunate. I don't know where that comes from, where the trust is not there for certain levels of our industry, and it's not right. So we know this, though, for sure. Remember I mentioned this? It's not going to reach the public that well, putting a sticker on a package of pork. I mean, they're going to take it. They'll take more pork if we make it for free. Well, maybe not. Actually, people don't like to have things always for free. You have to charge them a little something. But so anyhow, what are we going to do about that? You know, it would be insane if we just continued to do that. So we do need a change. Okay, so if we look at that, you know, we don't want to get around this whole motive to sell pork, being biased. Really what we want to be is transparent in our actions and what we're doing. And so hopefully some of those things I mentioned about what we're doing on farm create transparency. You can see what we're doing. We end up with some shared values, and we can start telling our story within the community. And we do that right now with a lot of education things. We're going to step that game up so more people can learn from what we're doing. And we get a lot of crowd come through and look at stuff. Stampede, other areas. We have a farm, the U of A. It has a viewing room in there. You can talk to people about science. We used to get that thing packed with kids coming in there, and we need to encourage our other commodity organizations to do it with us as well. You know, we look at, you know, public awareness types of things. So it's not just about me going out and having a party. It's about really going to places where people want to come because it's something of interest to them, food, and then we get to give our message a little bit. We slip our message in here and there, and they feel comfortable about it. It's not we're going to do a big ag project, but we're doing something that they like, and it seems to work. This little Porkapalooza one here, last year was 55,000 people showed up to eat some barbecue. So we got a chance to talk to them and, you know, put some messaging in there. They saw some green tractors. That really doesn't have much to do with a hog barn, but you know what? It's the start, right? It's they ask questions and we work our way into it. The other side of it is, how do we raise the bar? And this is the big change, and I've only got a couple slides left. You know, how do we make that real big change about, remember that trust, that shared values thing? So we were doing retail work, and we just decided, you know, at one time it was like over $1 million. Now we've slid that kind of almost to nothing, and we're looking at it and saying, you know what, let's build trust. It makes us feel good, and we're going to help out some people who really need some help. And so we decided, hey, let's get engaged in the community. Let's help out the Ronald McDonald House. Let's give them cash, food, events, do things with them. Let's have fun. Let's promote it. Let's look at it. Our producers have been there. Every meeting, I just was at 4 meetings regionally. I had somebody in every one of those meetings come to me and say, either I had my child there, or a relative did, or a friend has been at Ronald McDonald House. Why wouldn't we help out? Man, we feel amazing. Yes. The youth empowerment and support services help out 15 to 24-year-olds on the street, substance abuse problems, all sorts of things. And they need help. They need a hand up to become, better in their life. And we just said, hey, you know what? They serve food. Let's help them out. Let's do some good stuff with them and do the same thing. And it's amazing, the response we've had on that. Another one is adaptabilities. 4 years ago, we started working with this group, and they look after kids who have disabilities, who really need a lot of help. Their parents especially need a little bit of respite every now and then to help them out as well. And they helped us out with that Porkapalooza event, looking after each time about 7,000 kids that came down at that event, did all sorts of crafts and fun things with them and painted their faces. And, and it was all about agriculture too. They did things that were agriculture crafts and stuff like that. So it was a lot of fun. And so we looked at that and said, hey, you know what? This is good. Let's do it. It makes us feel good. But the other positive side of that is that's 60,000 Facebook followers. So that's a cool thing. And they like what they see. And we're doing it, because we want to help out. We just said, yeah, we got the product, we got the stuff. It makes our employees feel good. It makes our producers feel good. We're engaged in the community. And it's going to take a long time to have that trust. But we want to build the trust. But wow, the trust is really coming fast as long as we stick to it and are transparent about what we're doing. And we let them know that, hey, we value that 60,000 people talking about us too. Thank you. And so, really, that's our new scheme. Instead of going through to this retail thing and trying to convince people, that we're good people, we just said, let's just be good people. Let's just do good stuff. And, it's starting to pay off. And we just started now, just in Edmonton. We're working our way to Red Deer, to Calgary, to Lethbridge. We'll start spreading it out. And we've got a lot of partners now have jumped on, processors, others that have said, wow, this is cool. Can we get involved? And isn't that a better way to do things? I mean, suddenly now your partners that you do things with, you're having some fun times as well as just, trying to flog your product, so. And then for us, I guess success, we look at it as just saying, we've got, our producers look at us and say, you guys are doing good work. Thank you very much. It's worth us paying the $1 per hog to get sold. We trust you to do good work. We're going to have great information that goes to government. We have great government partners that work in government, the staff there. But we need to touch those in politics as well who don't understand us. And then the relationships we build with, we've got lots of partners in industry that we work on a lot of things together. And it's not just Alberta Pork alone. We need to work with other commodities because they have the similar issues that are going on as well. And then our last one really is this whole trust thing that I just mentioned. And if we can do that and if we can feel good, it's awesome. Finally, it's just about our producers. Again, we come back, they're our #1 customer, and we try to do things that are good for them, and we want them to feel good about what they do as well too.